fam, Bree here. This week we're going to do something a little bit different on Beyond the Marley. We normally have guests on for interviews. This week it's just going to be you and me, and we're going to be talking about something that I get asked all the time. And what it is, I think it's something that a lot of coaches struggle with. Every team out there deals with this. And it is, how do you get your dancers to stop doing weird things at competitions? I'm talking about when homegirl Sally's out there, always hits her quad pirouette, gets one rotation around and completely eats it on her face on the floor, right? Or you have, that was homegirl Sally. The next one's going to be homegirl Susie, and she starts on the completely wrong side of the stage, right? Or someone just starts doing the completely wrong choreography. We've all had it happen. We're going to talk about how do you get your dancers to stop doing weird things at competition. The first thing, number one, is find as many opportunities as possible to practice under pressure, right? Because that's the biggest difference. That's the difference between being in the dance room and being at competition. The dance room, you're comfortable, you're chill. It's just you and your team, you and your coaches. You get out at competition, now you have judges, you have your friends and family watching, you have the other teams. There's that pressure, right? Privileged pressure, but pressure. So if the first time you do that routine under pressure is at competition, of course, weird things are going to happen. It's the first time you've done it. Anytime you're doing something for the first time, you should expect weird things to happen, right? So how do we practice under pressure? How can you as a coach find ways to put more pressure on your dancers, on your athletes during practice? I have a couple things. First thing, do as many small groups as possible. And don't just do small groups where they're comfortable, right? Like split them in half, group A, group B. Have them perform it in duos. Have them perform it solo. Performing your competition routine solo in front of your entire team is extremely nerve-wracking. But you know what else is nerve-wracking? Going to competition and performing on that gym floor or on that stage for the judges, the other teams, all the things. So, number one, have your dancers perform their competition routine in small groups and smaller groups than they're comfortable with, right? Small enough where they're actually feeling that pressure. The next thing, find as many opportunities as possible to get an audience in front of your dancers before it's competition time. Maybe it's an alumni practice, alumni get to come watch. Maybe it's a friends and family practice, friends and family get to come watch. Maybe it's a basketball game that you can get your competition routine out at. Maybe it's just the end of basketball practice and you go and you ask the basketball coach, hey, can you bring your team in? We would love to have an audience. The more opportunities they get to practice in front of an audience, the better off they're going to be at competition. Another way to put pressure on your athletes is videoing. I know when I pull out my phone to video my dancers, they always step it up a notch, right? Because now it's almost like an extra level, an extra layer of accountability. Oh, my teammates are going to be watching this. We're going to be watching this right after. Find as many ways as possible to create high stakes. Yeah. Moving into that, how else can you create high stakes in the dance room? Something else I like to do is play games where it's high stakes. And what I mean by that is maybe we're doing first quarter palm. I'll tell my dancers, hey, we're doing first quarter palm, do it full out, and I'm going to count how many mistakes I see. Maybe there are 10 big mistakes. Obviously, they're probably more like little things. And now you're going to perform first quarter palm again, and I'm going to count how many mistakes I see. And if you beat that number, you're good. If I count more than 10 mistakes, we have 10 burpees. Something silly. It's not like it's a huge deal doing 10 burpees, but by making the stakes higher, it makes them want to hit it more. And that wanting to hit it more is simulating what they're going to do at competition, right? On that same note, and also kind of switching gears, number two, find as many opportunities to simulate the nerves and the anxiousness. Okay. One way you can do this really, really great. When you're about to compete, what happens to your heart rate? It goes faster. What happens to your breathing? It goes faster, right? What happens to your palms? They get sweaty. So, how can we simulate that physiological state in practice? One really easy way to simulate that is have them jog for 60 seconds. Stand in the beginning of your palm routine. We're just talking palm routines today, I guess. And jog for 60 seconds. Wait until you see them starting to breathe heavier. Wait until you can tell their heart rate is up. Maybe even wait until they start to break a sweat and then say, okay, let's go. Music's on. Boom. Now they're performing the routine in a similar physiological state that they're going to be competing the routine in, right? No dancer walks on stage. I mean, maybe the most elite of the most elite, but most dancers don't walk on stage in the most calm, serene state. No, they're a little nervous. They're a little excited. They're in front of all of their people. Their heart rates are going to be beating faster. Their breathing is going to be going faster. So do that in the dance room. Get those things happening in the dance room. Then they're practicing like they're going to compete. Another thing I do to simulate those nerves is I have them close their eyes and visualize, right? Go stand in your first formation, close your eyes. Now imagine you're on that national stage. You feel the Marley underneath your feet. You look over to the left, you see your teammate. You look out, you don't see anything but bright lights in your face. You look down at the front of the stage though, and you can see your family, you can see your coaches. You feel your heartbeat going faster. You get set up into your first formation. You take a deep breath. You hear the announcer say that your music is on, right? Having them close their eyes and visualize that, especially if they've been to nationals before, been to a similar competition that you're going to before, that's another way to just simulate that environment, simulate the nerves, and even put a little bit of that feeling of the pressure on them so that when they go out to competition, it's not the first time they've done it. A lot of different studies show that your brain and body don't know the difference between a visualized experience and a real experience. So visualization is something I use a lot on my team to simulate the nerves, simulate the competition, and get them just practicing to be their best. Number 3, how to get your dancers to stop doing weird things at competition is simulating the competition itself as closely as possible. For example, my dance room is pretty quiet. The competitions we go to are not quiet at all. So something I've done in the past is I'll have our speaker that has our music, and then I'll put another small speaker in the back corner with another song going, and another bigger speaker off to the other side with another song going, and then I'll have them hit a full out play. So they can hear 3 different songs. So they have to practice that mental muscle of focus to really focus in on their song. Now, with that said, normally, I mean, at least like at nationals, when you're on stage, you can only hear your song. But that's also not the case when you're backstage, right? When you're backstage, there are 8 floors going. You hear everyone's music. You can't even hear your coach talking. You can't hear the girl next to you. You can't hear your own music. You just see the person in front of you's mouth wording 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's another trick, another tip to just simulating that competition. And again, the more you can simulate competition in the dance room, the less weird things are going to happen on stage. The next thing is finding ways to create distractions. Create distractions during the competition or during your practice. Maybe that's you getting up and walking to the other side of the dance room that you don't normally do. Maybe it's you throwing something across the dance room. Don't hit one of your dancers. Maybe it's you stopping the music in the middle of the routine. What are they going to do? Anything can happen at nationals, right? Maybe it's creating some random last minute change. That's a distraction, right? Maybe it's trying to think of more distractions you can do. Those are some good ones. Create distractions, because especially when you're in those big gym competitions, there's little kids in the stands, there's other teams walking around, there are people coming in and out the doors, there's tons of different things going on. And so again, just the more you can throw that at them in the dance room, the less they'll get thrown off by it at competition. Another way you can simulate that competition feel is getting in a big space. If you compete in a gym, you should absolutely be practicing in a gym as often as you can. And I know that's easier said than done. Trust me, my school has a lot of sports and we have to fight for gym space. But I fight for it as much as I can. Practice. Another thing is practice without mirrors. How many of us, and I'm guilty of this as well, 99% of my practices, we are facing the mirrors and using the mirrors. But at competition, we don't have them. So how often can you flip the dancers the other way so they're not facing the mirrors? Or something we do when it gets closer to nationals, we cover our mirrors with butcher paper. Or we go practice in the gym. Or we go practice outside if it's not too cold or not too hot, just so that we can get in a big space and so we can get in a space that doesn't have mirrors. The more we can do that, the more prepared we're going to be. Another thing is practice, especially smaller competitions, you often have quick changes, right? So practice with the quick change. Tell them, bring your costumes, you're practicing in your warm-up gear or your practice outfits, whatever. And then tell them like, okay, guys, you have 7 minutes. Change and go to the beginning of the routine and then press play. Now they're going to be rushing. They're going to be nervous. They're going to be trying to put their costumes on as fast as they can. And they're going to run out there and then they have to do their routine. Who's to say that's not going to happen at competition? I said at these smaller competitions it happens. I've had that happen at nationals, especially when my team competes at NDA nationals and NDA does it where you go in order from like lowest score to highest score for finals. And so sometimes when we've been in divisions that are back to back, maybe we've had it where we're in first place for one and second place for the other, they go almost at the exact same time. And so then maybe we have 10 minutes between. We've literally actually changed our costumes for nationals so that we didn't have to change our costumes for nationals. Let me explain that. We had a game day outfit, costume, uniform, and we had a pom uniform. Our turnaround time was maybe 10 minutes. And so we just wore our pom costume for pom and game day. Because I told them I would rather you take that 10 minutes and catch your breath and breathe and get a small sip of water than spend that 10 minutes changing. Anyways, I digress. Practice the quick changes because you never know when you're going to have them. The next thing, this might be the most important one and maybe even the most missed one, the most missed opportunity. Your dancers are doing weird things at competition. Try this. Find their peak physiological state to perform their best. And then make sure they get into that physiological state before they go on stage at competition. What I mean by that is some dancers, say like 0 to 10, right? Some dancers perform their best when they're at a 10 of energy, a 10 of hypeness, a 10 of let's get this, let's go. Some dancers, when they hit that 10, that's when they get sloppy and that's when they start forgetting things and that they don't do their best there. They do better at like a 6. 6, like, okay, I'm excited, I'm ready, but also I'm more calm, right? So sometimes it's hard because you might have a team where half of them need to get super hyped before going on stage to be their best, and some need to calm down before going on stage to be their best. That's going to be different for every dancer, and that's just going to be a conversation that you have to sit down and have with your dancers. Hey, when do you do your best? Where are you? 1 to 10. So what you can do backstage then is those who need to be at a 10 to do their best and they need to be super hyped, they can circle up and they can shout, there are a lot of different things to get hype, right? They can yell at each other, they can do body motions of like power poses and confidence lifting things, and they can like high knees and run around in circles and jumping jacks and all the things to elevate that physiological state, right? And then your ones who need to be more calm, maybe you circle them up and do box breathing or just super slow breaths, right? Often my team needs to relax before they go on stage and bring their physiological state down for them to be their best. And so we'll stand in a circle and hold hands and we'll do 6 super slow breaths all together as a team. And I'll get slower with each one. And so I'll say they're normally like all, we just got off the warm-up floor, they hit a full out, they're breathing heavy. And so we'll get together and I'll say, okay, and breathe in, 2, 3, 4 and out. 6, 7, 8, and the next one I'll take slower. And in, 2, 3, 4, and out. 6, 7, 8, and then slower, and then slower, and then slower. And by the end, you can tell everyone's shoulders have dropped, their face muscles have relaxed, and they're in that peak physiological state that they need to be in. The next big thing with how to stop your dancers from doing weird things at competition is building up their confidence as much as you possibly can. Easier said than done, right? Something I say to my athletes is we don't practice until we get it right. We practice until we can't get it wrong. What does that mean? That means maybe we're doing this section, this 8 count, these 2 8 counts until we hit it 5 times in a row without any mistakes. So maybe the first time we make a mistake on the second time, we're restarting the count. The next time we go for it, we do it 3 times in a row without making a mistake, but then we make a mistake on the 4th time. Okay, we're starting over. And then we do it, we hit it the first time, we hit it the second time, oh, mistake the 3rd time, starting over. And then we hit it the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th. Once we've hit it 5 times in a row without mistakes, now we've practiced until we can't get it wrong. Versus just practicing until you get it right and then moving on to the next thing. Another way to build up confidence in your dancers is make sure, and this is almost more of a culture thing, make sure they know that mistakes are okay. They're not robots. It doesn't matter how much they practice. They're never going to hit a perfect routine. That's just not realistic, right? We work hard. We do our best. At the end of the day, we're human. They're human. And so making sure that they know that we're not striving for perfection. We're striving to put our best routine on the floor ever, right? Because you want to get a little bit better every single competition and you want to peak right at nationals. But it's okay to mess up. And something I tell my athletes and other athletes that I work with is it's always okay to mess up at 100% effort. If you're at 90% effort and you mess up, that's on you. That's your fault. Then it is your fault, right? Then it's not okay. It's not okay to mess up at 90% effort because you should have been at 100% effort. But if you're at 100% effort and you mess up, it's always okay. Because another thing with that is that's literally how your body learns how to do things. If you look at a lot of like motor development learning type stuff, the way your body learns how to do things, physical things, right, is by messing up. If you're swinging a golf club and you hit it and it goes way left, that's how your body learns, okay, I need to adjust it and go more right. And then the next time you do it, it might go too far right. Okay, but it was by doing it that now your body and your brain can make the adjustments to hit it straight. This is literally how the body learns how to do things, is by making mistakes. So mess up and mess up big, because the bigger that mess up is, the easier it's going to be for your body to take it and learn from it. Another thing, coaches, is your demeanor at competition. I have a story. Once I was at nationals and it was way back in the day. If any of you remember when NDA was at Hard Rock and we stayed at a hotel that was not close. It was like a 20-minute walk. And so we're walking down the path, and we get there and we go through all the stuff we have to go through, and we're like almost to warm up at NDA in the back. And one of my dancers says, "Oh my gosh, coach, I forgot my costume." I just said, "No big deal. Grab a friend, go get it. We'll meet you there." Homegirl ran. Not only did she run, so she ran all the way back to the hotel, got her costume, and then paid one of the guys with the horses, or no, it was the bikes. You know, the bikes and the carriages. Paid one of the guys with the bike and the carriage to ride her back as fast as she could. But I remember another coach coming to me and saying, "Wow, you were like really cool with her." And I was just like, yeah, of course. Like, what am I going to do? Just be like, "That's so terrible. I can't believe you did that." No, we're literally about to go compete. I'm not going to fill her with anxiety and dread and, "Oh no, I can't believe you forgot your costume. Is that a dumb mistake? And should you probably remember to take your costume when you're at nationals and you're going to go compete?" Yes, absolutely. But coaches, we We set the temperature in the room with our own demeanor. If we're nervous, our athletes are going to be nervous. If we're calm, clear, confident, our athletes are going to be calm, clear, confident. Another thing that we can help our dancers with as far as being confident and then minimizing the weird things that they do on stage is helping our dancers manage their self-talk. So you can normally catch it. You can normally tell who in the moment is giving themselves the positive self-talk and who's giving themselves the negative self-talk. I had a dancer recently and she came up to me and she said, "Coach, I just keep falling out of that triple. No matter what I do, I just can't hit it." And I asked her, "Okay, what are you telling yourself?" "I'm telling myself not to fall. Telling myself, don't fall, don't fall." I said, "Okay. What if I told you, don't think of a pink elephant?" And she kind of smiled. I said, "What'd you think of?" "Oh, she thought of a pink, she thought of a pink elephant, obviously." And so something I teach my athletes through the entire season is the brain can only say yes. So if you're telling your brain, don't fall, all it hears is fall. So I told her, this time, what can you think of instead? Right? We never want to focus on what you don't want. You want to focus on what you do want. So what can you focus on? She said, "I want to focus on spotting the person in front of me." She's like, "Because when I do that, I hit it." I said, "Okay, do that next time." Next time she goes out there, hits the triple perfectly. Comes up after, "Oh my gosh, coach, it worked." Yes, I know. I've been doing this for a while. And so I told her, my challenge to you is continue to find those times when maybe you're saying the negative version of something in your head rather than the positive. You always want the affirmative, the yes. What do you want? If you think don't fall, you're going to fall. If you think spot fast, you're going to spot fast. And then with that, kind of hand in hand with building that confidence, is it's similar, self-talk and also affirmations. I'm big on affirmations, and sometimes I have dancers who affirmations are really hard for them because it might be something that they don't believe is true yet. So when we're running, instead of thinking to themselves I'm a fast runner, I can do this, I can catch up to that person, I can finish my mile under 8, that's hard for them because they don't believe that they can run faster. They don't believe that they can get their mile under 8. And so a trick that we got from James Silvas, actually, he was one of our guests on another episode, is sometimes affirmations aren't always positive, but that doesn't mean they have to be negative. They could also just be neutral. So if you ever have dancers who are struggling with finding or believing or repeating to themselves the positive affirmations, maybe it's not, "I'm such a fast runner, I can get this under 8. Maybe what they say to themselves is neutral of just, "I'm stepping my feet. I'm going one foot in front of the other. I've just passed that line." But what that does is it gets rid of the space for the negative self-talk. So positive affirmations are great. And if it's hard for the dancer to do the positive, at least help them do the neutral so that we can get rid of the negative. Because the worst thing an athlete can do, and this is any athlete, any sport, is negative self-talk. There is nothing that will drag you down faster, that will drag the team down faster, and that will ensure a bad routine and weird things happening on the dance floor. So those are tips and tricks for getting your dancer to not do weird things at competition. Let me know if you have any other tips and tricks that you use with your dancers. I would love to hear them. I would love to share them. Comment them below. Shoot us an email. Shoot us a DM on Instagram. And I look forward to hearing from you guys.